with them transatlantic transfer speeds. Holy shit.
It's just sort of ARMA transfer speeds.
Yeah, I know. Um, though I set up a fast DL system for my other clan, where it routed through a FTP server instead of doing this. So, I mean, with these small maps, it shouldn't be necessary. How's your biggest missions? How big are they? Are they like take an hour to download or?
Oh god, no.
Okay, well then still
This
And
is
worry.
only very big because it
especially
has some pictures in it. Most
Okay.
missions are like a megabyte.
Okay, well,
Uh,
unless they did
Even
it
very
wrong.
big ones are never more than 2.
Unless they did it wrong.
Yeah, unless the mission maker is fucked up, but I haven't seen that in ever.
We saw it last week.
Did we?
Yeah. Because they didn't confine the space of their mission, so it loaded the whole map.
Mm, right.
Um, Timothy, do you have the plugin enabled and all that for Acre?
yeah,
Cool.
Okay.
probably. Hold
Excellent.
on, let me just double check.
Good
No,
idea.
you never fucking know.
Yep.
See,
I'm in fact.
plugins, Acre 2, yeah, it's on.
Sweet.
Oh, they're saying maybe I should disengage task force.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
task force.
Get rid of that.
Yeah, you cannot have them both enabled at the same time, or it does bad things.
yeah, I figured as much. Okay, yeah, there it's disabled. Oh no, it's not.
Timothy, it looks like you've readied up, so that's just fine. Before we actually go into the mission, just have a look in the top left corner and you'll see the different options while on the map screen.
Yep.
Briefing is particularly important. It'll let you read the briefing that has been written for that mission. All of our missions should have a fairly detailed briefing uh, as to what is going to go on during that mission. Uh, in addition to this, you'll also see the My Squad selection in the briefing options. My Squad will show both yourself and all the other members of your squad. Currently, it'll only be you because you're the only person in your training squad. It'll list the members, it'll show you who's the squad leader, and it'll list all of the gear that you're carrying. Occasionally, there are some pieces of gear that do funky things sometimes, like binoculars will show up twice. But in general, this will give you a good idea of your gear, and it'll let you check and make sure the loadout for your slot is correct.
Okay.
Additionally, on the top left corner here, you have CBA. If you click on CBA and then you click on key bindings, this will show you a list of all the key bindings for the mods that we use. So if you can't remember how to do a particular thing that one of our mods does, you can always open your map, look at this menu, rather than having to press escape and go into your controls menu and try and find it there.
Hmm.
So it can be pretty handy. Alright, I'll bring us into the mission now.
Well, this is cozy. Well, at least the fucking track RR works. Yeah.
Dro, you
I
alive?
cannot. I cannot hear him.
Nope. Uh,
Oops.
Can you hear me now?
we can
Yeah.
hear you now.
Perfect. Okay. Let's get started. Welcome to the 9th Iron Fist Infantry Division Familiarization Training. What we're going to talk about during this training are the ACE 3 and Acre 2 modifications, an overview of the map, our standing rules of engagement, the structure of the platoon, fire team formations and the stamina system, types and rates of fire, contact reports, and bounding and peeling. We'll start off with the ACE-3 modification. Have you ever used ACE-3 before?
Yep.
Okay, so you're familiar with the self-interact and group interact keys?
I'm very familiar, yes.
Okay. There are a few other ones that are less well known, so I'll just quickly go over those. Do you know how to point?
I have never pointed. No.
Okay, so if you look to your right at the rifles billboard over there,
Yep.
you should see a circle with my name underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do that by pressing Shift and tilde, the key next to your 1 key.
Oh yeah.
We can just use this to indicate more specifically positions in game, rather than me trying to describe to you a certain place. I can just be, it's there, and point it.
Very useful.
Very useful. One of the other things to remember is at the start of all our missions, our weapons are on safe, so you're going to need to take off your safety in order to be able to use your weapon. You can do this by pressing Control tilde, or by changing the weapon's fire mode. So switching from single shot to automatic or automatic to single shot will take off the safety as well.
Neat.
And then finally, Shift R will clear a jam. You can also do this by self-interacting and going to the equipment menu, or you can just quickly press Shift R to clear a jam. Reloading by itself will not clear a jam anymore in ACE. You have to manually clear it. You can't just reload.
Have we ever encountered that yet? I haven't, personally.
I have, several times, although never during a mission. Only during training and testing it out.
Cool.
It's most prone with automatic rifles and machine guns that have been shooting a lot and are very hot.
Yeah.
So we also use ACE Advanced Medical. So I'm just going to talk quickly about the medical system. So basic first aid. The pulse of a person can be checked at their head or arms. You should always check someone's pulse to make sure that either they're actually dead before you abandon their body, or that they're still alive before you begin medical treatment. You don't want to waste bandages on dead people, and you don't want to abandon people who are still alive. You'll see that parts of the body are indicated with white crosses. Those crosses will change color depending on wound severity. Yellow are light wounds and red are severe wounds. You should always bandage red critical wounds before worrying about light yellow wounds. If you hover over a body part, a image will appear in the top left corner of your screen that will show a list of what injuries that body part has. It'll tell you what type of wound it is, for example, a cut or a velocity wound. You need to remember to make sure to use the right type of bandage on the right type of wound. And the cheat sheet for this is if someone has an avulsion or if they have a velocity wound, you need to use a packing bandage. If they have any other kind of wound, you can use an elastic bandage. So again, avulsions and velocity wounds, use a packing bandage. Anything else, elastic. You'll see in the arms and legs, you'll have the option to inject morphine. Do not inject morphine into anyone else. It's very dangerous because it'll slow your heart rate down and lower your blood pressure, and that can cause you to pass out or die. You should only ever use morphine on yourself if you're in a whole bunch of pain and you can't aim your weapon properly. So if you can't shoot straight, give yourself morphine, otherwise you don't really need it. And then finally, we offer further medical training in an advanced medical course that you can take anytime after finishing this course.
Neato.
Okay, and then one more thing, I'm going to talk about our enhanced movement mod. Technically this isn't part of ACE, but it fits in well here. So I need you to press the escape key, and then in the bottom right corner you'll see enhanced movement and keys. Double click on keys, and then you're going to need to bind a key to jump climb. Whatever
Any
key you want.
recommendation?
I
Spacebar.
use spacebar because I don't use
Do
it for
spacebar.
anything else.
It's good.
If you use spacebar as your default selection, you might have to change that. Some people use V and then get rid of the default Arma climb, but it's a good idea to keep the default one because it can get you out of,
Yeah,
when you get
it's a
stuck in a wall or something like
vault
that, it can help
versus
you
a
get out of that.
climb.
I'm not actually sure if I can point anything. Oh wait, yeah, never mind. Yeah, what now?
Okay, you've got the
Here.
key bound because you're jumping.
Yep.
So yeah, you can be really cool and jump in place like a fool, but you can also do things like climb over walls and climb up on structures that you couldn't previously climb on in the vanilla Arma. The one Alchemist going for over there is particularly hard, but if he can get it, you can actually climb on the roof of that building now. Uh, it also lets you jump while running, so if you're sprinting, you can jump, and that lets you jump over things. Uh, Likewise, you can climb on top of things much more easily, and climb over walls much more easily. There we are, you got it.
And then
The other
the big thing about it though is to make sure you jump down as well, not just run off, right?
Alchemist, I'm just about to talk to that. Please
Sorry.
don't interrupt. So, the other very important thing is you can use it to climb down off of things rather than just falling off. So, before in Arma, you'd walk to the edge of something. If you wanted to get down, you just have to kind of walk off and hope you didn't hurt yourself. With this, you can look at the edge and press the enhanced movement key, and it will enable you to climb down in a much safer manner. You still couldn't jump off the top of this structure here, but for lower things, it's much more convenient. And it'll also let you do things like climb down. If there's a hole in a roof and a ladder below it, you can climb through that hole with this rather than going down the ladder. Stuff like that.
Nice.
Okay, do you have any questions about Ace or the enhanced movement?
Nope.
Okie dokie. We'll talk about Acre 2 next. So you have some TFAR experience, it sounded like. Have you used Acre 2 at all?
Back in Norma Pubis a very long time ago.
Okay. I believe it's still reasonably similar to that. Oh, excuse me. I believe it's still reasonably similar to that. So Acre 2 does all of our local voice and radio communications. Our local comms have positional audio, so if I run around you, you'll be able to hear my voice from a different location. If I'm behind you, you'll hear me from behind you. If I'm on your left, you'll hear me from your left, etc.
Yep.
It also has proximity-based audio. So if I'm talking to you on normal volume, you can hear me just fine, but as I get farther and farther away, I'll get quieter and quieter until you won't be able to hear me anymore. In addition to this, you can change the volume of your voice. So if you hold down the tab key, you can then use your scroll wheel to select a new volume, and then let go of your tab key and it will set you to that volume. Whisper is very close. If I was standing here, you probably wouldn't be able to hear my whisper. Shout makes you audible out to about 100 meters.
Okay.
Something to keep in mind is that the AI can hear your voice and will react to it. So
Yep.
if you're in the middle of a city fight and you're on shout, all the AI inside 100 meters will be able to hear you. And they won't understand what you're saying, of course, but they'll react to your presence and may seek you out and try and kill you.
Yep.
Okay, we talked about positional and proximity audio and voice adjust or volume adjust. So that's it for local comms. Next we'll do radio comms in Acre. So depending on what faction we play, we don't always have everyone carrying a radio, but usually you will have at least a short range radio, which is what you are currently equipped with. The radios have several different push to talk keys depending on how many radios you have. Default push to talk on whichever radio you last talked on is caps lock. However, each radio in your inventory up to the first 3 can have its own push to talk key based on the order that they appear in your inventory. So if you have 2 radios in your uniform, whichever one is on top will be your first radio and whichever one's underneath will be your second radio. And then if you had a third radio in your vest, because it's over in your vest, it'll come after the stuff in your uniform. So The ones in your uniform would be radios 1 and 2, and then the radio in your vest would be radio 3. If you only had one in your uniform and one in your vest, the one in your uniform would be number 1, and the one in your vest would be number 2. So the 3 push-to-talk keys are Shift caps lock for radio 1, Control caps lock for radio 2, and Alt caps lock for radio 3.
Okay, seems simple enough.
Yeah, pretty simple. You can open and close your radios by pressing Alt Control caps lock. So Alt Control and caps lock will bring up your radio. Do that now. You
Yep.
should see an Acre radio in front of you. It'll be green. The top left, you'll see the antenna. Then in the top center, you'll see a numbered dial.
Yep.
This is the channel dial. So if you need to change your radio's channel, you can do it by left and right clicking on this. Left click will go up a channel, right click will go down. But the dial does not go all the way around. Once you get to the last channel, to get back to the first channel, you need to right click to go back down. Next to the channel dial is the volume dial. It is not labeled, but when you left or right click on it, it will give you an indication of your current volume. I like to right click and turn it down to 60% or 80%, because I find 100% is just a little too loud.
Yeah.
Then on the right side of the radio, you'll get the option to detach handle. Don't do this. There's a button under there called the channel block group. Don't touch that either, or you will disable your radio if you don't know what you're doing.
Okay.
So always leave your handle attached. If your handle is detached, your radio won't work. And don't mess with that button or your radio will be taken out of commission. You can press escape or alt control caps lock to close the radio.
Yep.
To cycle between radios, if you have more than one, in order to open up a different radio like that, you can press alt shift caps lock. So alt shift caps lock will switch to the next radio, and then alt control caps lock will open it. You can also set the stereo setting of your radio. So if you want a radio to be in both ears, or just your left ear, or just your right ear, to do that, you press Control Shift, and then whichever arrow key you want. So left arrow key for left ear, right arrow key for right ear, and up arrow key is both ears. So press Control Shift left.
Yeah, I'll find it. And
Yeah.
up is center here and
Up is both ears, yeah, for center. So if you set it to left, then you'd hear me only in your left ear right now. Each radio can be set individually, so you can have your short range in your left ear, and if you have a long range, it'd be in your right ear, or whatever mix you like. Even if you only have the short range radio, it's often a good idea to set it to just one ear, because then it lets you hear the ambient noise around you better. So if Alchemist was talking to me with local comms and the radio was talking at the same time, it'd be easier to hear Alchemist if it was only in one ear.
Yeah.
So the radios are fairly well simulated. The quality of the radio transmissions is affected both by range and by terrain. So the radios have a limited range. These short ranges we have right now are good to about 500 meters. Past that, they start to sound quite terrible, and eventually you won't be able to hear it all. And they're also affected by stuff like hills and buildings. If you're on the wrong side of a hill from someone, you'll have a much more difficult time communicating with them because the radio waves don't go through the hill. Likewise, if you're in an urban environment, the buildings will also make the radios worse and lower your signal range. And we talked about having multiple radios already. Okay, do you have any questions about Acre 2 before we move on?
nope.
Alright, talk about map reading next. Do you know how to read the map really well?
Yeah, more or less.
Okay.
I'm pretty up to date with maps.
We'll make it pretty quick then.
Yeah.
So if you open up your map,
Mhm.
and you see the grid square that has alternate supply, main supply, and dirt road in it, right here.
Yeah.
So first we'll talk about what I'm doing right now. To point
Hold-
like this, just
yeah.
hold down your left mouse button, and it'll make the dot with your name on it appear. You can use this to point on your map and indicate things, much like pointing I showed you earlier. Both kinds of pointing can only be done for someone who is within 4 meters of you. So if you're 5 meters away from somebody, they can't see your pointing.
Okay.
Next we have the roads. So we call this one the main supply route, or MSR. Call this one the alternate supply route, or ASR, and we call this one the dirt road. These are both paved. This one's bigger. This one's unpaved and small. Do you know how to read contour lines like these here?
Yes.
Okay. So the contour intervals in the bottom right shows the distance between them. Tighter together is steeper. Green area is your forest, blue area is your water. Whoop-de-doo. Do you know how to read grid squares?
Yes.
Okay. Arma's maps are sometimes a little bit weird because the northings are sometimes backwards. For example, on this map, it counts up this way. So this is 047, this is 048, this is 049, rather than counting from 0 at the bottom and going up. However, we still always read it left to right and then bottom to top. So this grid square will be 042, 049. Copy?
Yep.
Okay. And then we use what's called the keypad method, break down grid squares. So it's just like the number pad on your keyboard. This section will be 1, the bottom middle will be 2, the bottom right will be 3. So if I were to say grid 042, 049, keypad 7, I'd be talking about the top left corner of this grid square.
Yeah.
You know how to make map markers?
Yep.
Okay.
Different
Do you know how to
colors and
draw
everything.
lines?
No.
Okay. So you won't be able to draw a line right now. You can do it at the start of the mission, like when we're all looking at the map screen together, or you can do it if you have an ace item called Map Tools.
Yeah.
Up where your name is in the top right corner, if you have the ability to draw lines, you'll see several vertical bars that will allow you to select a color. Then you just hold Alt, left click somewhere, and then left click where you want the line to end. So very simple. You just left click here and then left click down here, and it would draw a straight line between those 2 points. Useful for planning missions, and also if you're operating a mortar, you need to know how to draw lines. Map markers, you can select which channel you want them to appear. So just global side or group, etc. Lines are a little different. Lines that are done before the mission starts are global, so both sides can always see them. Lines that are done during a mission using the map tools are local to you only. So once you're in a mission, if you use the map tool to draw a line only, you can see it.
I see.
Otherwise, just make sure you pay careful attention when you're making map markers, that you select the appropriate channel. If we're playing co-op versus AI, then global's fine. But if we're playing team versus team, make sure you put it in your side only.
Yep.
Okay, any questions about the map?
Nope.
Alright, you can close your map. What are standing rules of engagement? So these are just the rules of engagement that we start out every mission with. They can be modified during the mission by the platoon commander. But in general, the rules of engagement are as follows. No one is to engage a target unless one of the following is true. You or your element is being actively engaged by identified enemy targets. So if you see a guy and he is shooting at you, you can shoot him. Or your well-being or the well-being of a friendly unit is an immediate danger. So if you come around a corner and there's a bad guy with a rifle right there and he sees you, you can shoot him first. Or if you see a guy on a roof with an RPG and he's about to shoot the vehicle in front of you, you can shoot him first, even though he hasn't shot yet.
Okay.
Or if you're ordered to fire by someone above you in the mission's chain of command. So if Alchemist is your fire team leader for the night and he says, Timothy, shoot that guy, then you can shoot that guy.
Yeah, makes sense.
Illegal orders are to be disregarded. We don't shoot civilians and we don't shoot prisoners. So keep that in mind. No shooting civvies or prisoners. And that's it. Pretty simple. Any questions about rules of engagement?
No.
Okay. Next, we'll talk about the structure of the platoon. To do that, could you please turn your attention to the billboard behind you? So, this is our standard American platoon. This is a little simplified. Normally we'll have an extra rifle squad and maybe a few other things. But this is the basic layout. So in the platoon headquarters, we'll have the platoon commander, one or more medics, and sometimes a radio telephone operator or JTAC or forward observer. Then the platoon is broken down into squads. In this billboard, we have one rifle squad and one weapon squad. Often there will be more than one rifle squad. The squads will each have a squad leader, and sometimes they will have a medic attached directly to the squad leader, who will work with that squad. And then the squads are broken down into fire teams, usually Alpha and Bravo. If we're playing as American Marines, sometimes there's a Charlie fire team as well. And the Russian squads also have fire teams, although they're of a different composition. The fire teams are then broken down into a fire team leader, an automatic rifleman, a grenadier, and a rifleman anti-tank. Additionally, one of these members, who is not the fire team leader, will be designated by the fire team leader to be the assistant fire team leader. The assistant fire team leader is responsible for taking over the fire team in event of the death of the fire team leader. So if Alchemist was the fire team leader, and he said, okay, Tim, I want you to be my assistant fire team leader this mission, and then Alchemist died, you'd be in charge of the fire team.
Okay.
Additionally, you can see the fire teams are broken down into buddy teams of 2 people. The assistant fire team leader should be on the opposite buddy team from the fire team leader. Buddy team leaders are also assigned by the fire team leader. So if I was the fire team leader, I could say, okay, Timothy, Alchemist, I want you two to be a buddy team, and Alchemist, you'll be my assistant. And then I would buddy up with the remaining member of the fire team. Buddies are responsible for sticking together, for checking on each other, and providing covering fire and first aid for each other. So if a grenade goes off by you and Alchemist and your buddies, and as soon as you hear that grenade go off, you need to jump on it and be like, hey Alchemist, are you alright? If he says I'm fine, then no, you're okay too. If he says he's hurt or he doesn't say anything, then you might have to go over and make sure he's still alive, or give him first aid. So very important, you always stick to your buddy and support each other. Are there any questions about the platoon structure?
No, I think I got it. Yeah.
Okay, it's not too hard. Next, we're going to talk about fire team formations. So we use a few basic formations when we're moving around or set up in fixed positions. The first of these is the wedge. It's the default formation that we use, so anytime we're going to move somewhere and you're not told to be in something else, you should default to the wedge. We have the fire team leader in the front and center, with the automatic rifle on either the left or right, and then everyone else on the opposite side from the automatic rifle, arranged in this kind of chevron shape. It's an easy to maintain formation because you can often see another person in it, and it's easy to shoot to the front, the left, or the right. Next, we have the file. The file is used in urban environments or very thick forests or other dense terrain. You have the fire team leader in the front and everyone else lined up behind him. The exact order can change depending on your environment. This would be the order used in more open terrain, or rather in non-city based terrain. If you're in a forest, then this would be a good layout. It's very easy to maintain in confined spaces because you are following right behind someone else. It's very easy to see them and keep track of them. And it's very easy to shoot to the left or right, but it's very hard to shoot to the front or the back. Next, we have the line. The line is sort of the opposite of the file. It's laid out like the wedge, with the team leader in the center and the automatic rifle on one side and everyone else on the opposite side from him. It's very easy to shoot to the front or back and very hard to shoot to the left or right because your team members are often in the way. And we usually use this when we're preparing to take contact with the enemy, either advancing to a known enemy position or suspected enemy position, or if we are stationary and expecting the enemy to advance to us from a particular direction. Then we can all line up and get our guns pointed in the same direction. And finally, we have the diamond. The diamond is a formation we assume when we are stationary and need to provide all-around security. So you just have everyone spaced apart, looking in a different direction, making sure no one sneaks up on you. It's not a formation we ever use during movement, though. Any questions about the formations?
Nope.
Okay. And now we're going to talk about our stamina system. So we use a modified version of the vanilla stamina system. It's set up so that, okay, so in vanilla right now, if you sprint, your stamina goes down. When you run out of stamina, you can still run, and you can run forever. With the system we use, it modifies that. So as your stamina is used up, you can no longer sprint. Then you run only, and you can run more and more slowly until finally you can only walk. And if you've completely exhausted your stamina, you're walking speed only until it recovers, and you also walk more slowly the lower your stamina is. So it's important to avoid moving at high speeds, and especially important to avoid sprinting unless you absolutely need to sprint, in order to preserve your stamina as much as possible for times when it's more crucial to have it. Likewise, if you're moving at a crouch, or if you're crawling and trying to move quickly, that will reduce your stamina more than standing up. So ideally you want to remain standing and moving as slow as the situation needs, or as slow as you can get away with for your situation. So stay standing and stay slow, and that will maintain your stamina. Any questions about stamina?
No.
Okay. Next, we're going to talk about types and rates of fire. If you can turn your attention back to the board. So types first. These are the 5 main types of fire. You have point fire, which involves shooting at a specific identified target. So if I said, Tim, shoot the man in that window, and then you shot at him and killed him, that would be point fire. Area fire is distributing your fire over an area. So if we thought there were some men in those trees, and I said, Tim, put a magazine from your automatic rifle into those trees, and you're not shooting at a specific target or a specific point, you're just kind of you're saturating an area with fire. That would be area fire. And then indirect fire is shooting a projectile on an arcing trajectory without being able to see your target. So firing your grenade launcher over a hill or around a corner, that would be indirect fire. Suppressing fire can be point or area fire, and its purpose is to prevent the enemy from carrying out a task. So if you killed the man in that window, and then I told you to suppress that window, you'd continue to shoot at the area of the window in order to prevent the enemy from taking up a position in it. So preventing a new soldier from occupying the window. Watch and shoot is the opposite of suppressing fire. In watch and shoot, you hold your fire and only shoot when you have a target. So if, once again, I told you to shoot the man in that window, you shot him and you killed him, and then I told you to watch and shoot that window, you'd watch it. When you saw a bad guy, you'd shoot him. Do those all make sense? Any questions?
No.
Okay, next we'll talk about rates of fire. So these are just basic rates of fire for a rifleman. The slow rate, which is normally 6 to 10 shots per second, or correction, 6 to 10 shots per minute, very different. 1 shot every 6 to 10 seconds. There's no requirement to count this out, by the way. Just use your own estimation. You don't need to sit there counting until you hit 6 and then you're allowed to fire again. Just use good judgment. So slow rate, slowest rate of fire normally employed for long distance shooting or when you have to conserve ammunition very carefully. Sustained rate is a normal rate of fire, usually 2 to 5 rounds, or correction, a shot every 2 to 5 seconds. It's a good balance between shooting enough and not shooting too much. The semi-automatic rate is the fastest you can normally engage targets in an accurate fashion. So shooting, taking careful aim, shooting, taking careful aim, shooting, and it's about 1 shot per second. Used for numerous or close targets where speed and lots of bullets are very important. Then you have the automatic or burst rate. This is firing as quickly as your weapon will allow, and is used when you absolutely have to put as many bullets into them as possible, regardless of how much ammunition that uses up. An example of this could be if you're going room to room in a building, you don't want to let anyone get any shots off at you, so you want to put 5 or 6 into each guy you see to make sure you kill them before they can shoot you. Any questions about rates of fire?
Yeah, single question.
Sure.
If you're a English term for machine gunner, I
Right.
suppose. Does the same rules apply, or
Nope. Machine
does it?
guns and automatic rifles have different rates of fire, and we cover those in the machine guns course.
Yeah.
So you're welcome to take that whenever we're done here.
Does the being a machine gunner and not using your first 100 rounds through a mission is kind of bad.
Yeah. Yeah, machine gunners have different rates of fire that are all automatic.
Yeah.
Okay.
No more.
Next we're going to talk about contact reports. So this is the contact report we give. It consists of 3 Ds: direction, distance, and description. And we always give them in this order. It should always be direction, distance, description. Direction comes first, and that just gets the rest of your fire team looking in that direction, trying to find the contact. This should always be a cardinal or ordinal point, so something like north or northwest. Don't use a bearing or a specific compass bearing during this portion. Next, we have distance. This should be in meters, ideally. Although if you're not exactly sure, you can use close, medium, or far to just give a best guess. This lets everyone know how far they should look and also what they should set their weapons range adjustment to. So if your automatic rifle was at 200 meters and you call a contact at 500 meters, he's going to need to quickly hit his keys to set his automatic rifle to 500 meters. Then we have description third. Description should just be very basic description of the contact. Infantry, vehicle, or armor is just fine. If you can be more precise, it's okay to do so. So you could say enemy infantry squad, but don't say it's a squad if you only see 2 guys. Likewise, if you're not sure what kind of vehicle it is, don't tell people it's a tank. If you know exactly what kind of vehicle it is, it's okay to say that. If you know it's a BTR, then you can say BTR, but don't say it's a BMP unless you're sure.
Okay.
Once you've given direction, distance, and description, if you have time, you can then get out your compass and give an exact bearing, or your fire team leader might come over to you and then he can point, or you can point at the target and he can see that. This will only happen if the contact is very distant or not immediately obvious. There are 2 kinds of contact. There's soft contact and hard contact. Soft contact is a contact where you see the enemy but they don't see you and there's no shooting going on. So if we're in an observation post and we see an enemy squad walking through a field, 500 meters to our south, but they don't see us, that'd be a soft contact. Hard contact is the opposite of that. Hard contact means that the enemy saw you first and they started shooting at you. So usually the first time you'll notice your hard contact is because a bullet goes whizzing past your head. Hard contact you have to react to much more quickly than soft contact, because it's obviously much more threatening. Do you have any questions about the contact report?
No.
Okay. I'm just going to give a few examples so you can get a good idea of what a good contact report will sound like.
Contact southwest 300 meters, infantry. Contact east 500 meters, ETR. Contact north 800 meters, infantry.
Can you please give me an example of a contact report?
Okay, now we're gonna be creating and stuff, right?
Yeah. Just think of it in your head first. Once you've got what you want to say, get on your radio and say it.
Group pressure there, holy shit.
Yep. All of the pressure.
North-northwest, 300 meters, 350 meters. Infantry. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm
That's
not very
all right.
imaginative, sorry.
You've just shown me that I've left out something. You always need to say contact before you give the direction, distance, and description. You should always start it with
Contact.
and that lets everyone know that something is up.
Yeah.
It's okay to give a contact report as well, even if you're not sure that it's an enemy contact. If you simply suspect it might. So if you see infantry in the distance and you're not sure if they're civilians or if they're enemy, it's just fine to call out an infantry contact. But then say you're not sure if they're bad guys or not. You know, contact northwest, 600 meters infantry might be civilians.
Not unknown infantry or...
Yeah. You could say unknown infantry. You could be more specific.
Okay. But you do use north, northwest, and such.
Yep.
Yeah.
North,
okay.
northwest, southeast, west.
Yep.
Good stuff. Okay, next we're going to do a practical session on bounding and peeling. So I'd like you to come over to this gun rack and take an M4 from the gun rack, and then take a few magazines from the ammunition box. The MK318 are the correct magazines.
It's not letting me grab any. I don't know what that problem is.
Okay. It's a problem because the boxes are more full than they should be.
Ah. Let me see.
Okay. Were you able to take magazines, Timothy?
Yep.
Okay. Can you put some on the ground so Alchemist can get them?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Just dig out some more.
Yeah, just give him 10 or so.
There you go.
Okay. You both have a sufficient number of magazines?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okie dokie. I'm just going to teleport us to a different training area. Okay, Tim, can you use group interact to join mine and Alchemist's group?
Yeah. Let's see.
You'll have to aim right at my center.
Yeah, I know that. Sure.
There you go. Okay, so we're going to be a little fire team. I'll play both the fire team leader and the automatic rifle. The two of you can play the rifleman and grenadier.
Okay.
And so you'll be a buddy team. And can you guys go red? And I'll go yellow.
Sure.
Perfect. So our fire team's mission is to move east through these woods, do a little reconnaissance on the town on the far side, because we've heard that a Russian squad may have moved into the town and be occupying it. So we're going to do that by bounding towards the town, and I'll talk about exactly how we do that as we walk there. So let's move in a wedge at combat pace to the east. Guns down. So you're the rifleman and grenadier, so you'll both be on my right side right now. Because there is no, because I'm being the automatic rifle as well, and so he would be on my left. So bounding is a method of fire and maneuver where one of the teams takes a stationary position and covers the other team while they move. Then once the moving team has gotten into a new position, they take up a new overwatching position, and the team that was previously covering them moves forward under their cover. So the way we do this is the first team will call out moving. Then they will begin their rush forward, either to the next good piece of cover or just for 3 or 4 seconds, and then they will cease moving, take up a shooting position, and call out set. Once the moving team hears...
Can you hear him very well? Go ahead and take my
No.
position up there. There you go.
Oh, were you not able to hear me?
Yeah, I heard bits.
Okay, I was just on normal. Let's take a pause in these hay bales here, and I'll start that over. Okay. So during bounding, you'll have one team that moves and one team that covers, and the teams switch between which team is moving and which team is covering every bound. So your fire team leader will say something like, "We'll be fire team Alpha."
Alpha, we're going to bound east towards this town. We're going to do sequential bounds. Red is going to go first. Time now.
And so that
Successive?
means... Pardon me, Alchemist?
Sorry, successive?
I said successive, yeah. This is just an example order.
Sorry, you said sequential.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
I meant successive. Thank you.
There you go.
So, when the order is given, whichever team is going to go first will call out moving, and they'll begin bounding. They'll go either to the next piece of good cover, or they'll go for 3 or 4 seconds if there is no cover. Then they'll stop moving, and they'll take up a shooting position, and they'll call out set on the radio.
Set.
And that means they are set up in position. Once the team that's covering hears the moving team call out set, it means that they can move, so they'll call out moving, and they'll bound forward. In a successive bound, they will always succeed behind the first team, so they'll move up to them, but they will not pass them. On an alternate bound, or alternating bounds, then the team that is in the rear moves past and becomes the team in the front. So they alternate who is the forward team. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So alternate bounds alternate. Alternate bounding is faster, you cover more ground more quickly. Successive bounding is a little safer because you stick closer together and can support each other. The teams continue bounding in this fashion, each team calling out
Moving. Set. Moving. Set.
until you get to the end of your bound. So once the objective of your bound is reached, or until it is called off. So we're going to try this out. We'll do some alternating bounds towards this town. So I'll give a similar order to the one I gave an example of earlier. Excuse me. Alright.
Alpha, we're going to bound east towards this town. Alternate bounds. Red team go first. Time now.
So, Alchemist, you'll be the assistant leader and leader of your buddy team.
Alright. Red moving. Time now.
So, Red moves. You're on Red, Tim. So you need to go with Alchemist. Then once you're both in position, one of you needs to call out set.
Set.
Now that the yellow team has heard that you're set, they begin bounding
Close
forward.
quarters here.
Moving.
Not ideal cover, but it works.
That's bulletproof. Fine.
And because
Oh,
we're
yeah.
alternating, the other team moves past the team that moved before.
We'll stop the 20 long rifle, right?
Yeah. It's really dense.
Oh yeah.
Set.
Red team moving.
Okay, Tim, I want you to start being the person who calls out moving and set.
I'll go for the fuck.
Yeah, alternating, so you keep going past.
So say set on the radio.
I just did.
Okay, cool.
You don't hear me.
Moving. Contact east-southeast, 400 meters, enemy infantry.
Ooh.
Set. Switch to successive bounds.
Alright,
Do you move
so
or?
give it a call. Yeah, so we're gonna go up to his position because it's successive now.
Okay.
Moving.
Good.
Yep.
That's
Moving.
Then sometimes if the distance is long, remember to put down your gun during the run.
Yeah.
Set.
moving. That's
The set calling, that's when our buddy's also behind cover, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you always want to wait until both of you are in position.
Yeah, I figured as much.
Both of you should be able to shoot. Okay, so we see that there's at least one squad in that town. So we're going to halt bounding here. And we're going to do something called peeling. Oh, we're under fire now. So we don't want to run straight backwards through this open field the way we came in, because that would be a dumb thing to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a peel to the woods on our left. Peeling is like a bound, and what happens in a peel, rather than moving as a group, you each move individually, one at a time. The fire team leader will call out Alpha peel left, or Alpha peel left to those woods. They may make it generic or more specific. And then the person on the farthest away from the direction of travel. So we're moving left, so that'll be the person on the farthest right, which will be me in this case. Will get up and call out moving. Then they'll run behind everybody else. Because you don't want to run in front, or you might get shot by your friends. So you run behind everyone else towards the direction you're supposed to move in. To the left in this case. You take up a new position once you're past everybody, and you call out set. Then, once you're set, the next person on the farthest right runs behind, takes up a new position, calls up set. Calls out set. And you keep doing that until you're far enough in the direction of travel you can cease your peel. Does that make sense?
So we'll keep moving left then.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, good.
Successive or alternate?
It's peeling.
Okay.
There is no successive or
Right.
alternate. You
Sorry.
know that. Alchemist.
Come on. It
Alrighty.
could be advanced.
Alpha, peel left to those woods. Moving.
So I called out moving. I move left. That'll do.
Set.
Moving. Set.
Moving.
you're both really close to me. You can move farther than this. Like, halfway to those hay bales would have been better. You don't need to lie down right next to each other. Anyways, moving.
Set.
Moving. Set.
Moving.
So move past Alchemist, like halfway to the
Moving.
Ooh, and I'm out of stamina and walking speed only.
Set.
Moving. Moving. Set.
Tim, your turn. Moving.
I don't know if you heard his set there or not.
No, I did not.
Okay.
Okay, we'll cease the peel because we've made it to the woods, and now we're going to do what's called a break contact bound, which is just like a normal bound, except you do it to the rear.
You're both close enough for me to talk in local, right? Yep.
Yeah.
So on a normal bound, you face towards the enemy, you move forward, you are always facing the enemy. On a break contact, you turn around, run away from the enemy, take up your shooting position, and face them. So you don't run backwards away from the enemy, you always turn and face your direction of travel, and then turn back to face the enemy once you're in position.
Alpha, break contact bound, west through the trees. Red, go first. Time now.
We'll do alternate bounds.
So me first, or
Yep, red first.
Yeah, so both of us.
Moving.
This is good. Now call it out.
fuck?
Set.
Did you not hear me, or?
Dro, do you copy?
I do now. You set? Yep. Moving.
Fuck you.
Set. Moving. Reload. Set.
Oh, shit.
Moving.
Here.
There's some in the hay bales to the southeast.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yep. You both want to be where you can see the enemy, not just hiding behind the tree.
Set. Moving.
You good?
Yep.
Set. Okay, yellow's consolidating on you.
Okay. So just gather around me. Alright. So that concludes our section on bounding and peeling. Do you have any questions about it, Tim?
Seems very good.
Yeah. Takes a little practice to get the hang of it, but it's not too complicated. And that brings us to the end of the familiarization training session. Do you have any questions about anything else we've covered during the training?
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay. Any non-specific questions?
No.
Alright.
Really.
Let me know if you do have any.
Will do.
I'm going to be running another training session in about 45 minutes. What am I going to do? That's a good question.
It is a good question.
I'll figure it out, but there will be another training. So just be aware of that. If
Is
you
it
want to
something I should
attend,
join?
Yeah, it's
feel
always
free.
fun.
Always good.
What kind of training is it?
I don't know
don't know.
yet.
Why don't you
Okay,
do
well,
weapons? It's been a while since we've done
Well,
weapons.
I did basic weapons last week.
Nah, I wasn't able to go to that one.
Well, you
It's
failed then.
a personal problem.
Should I do anti-tank launchers? Should I do fire team operations?
Anti-tank.
Okay. Weapon proficiency, anti-tank launchers. So that's what the training will be. I will teach you how to use all of the things.
Yeah,
We're gonna blow
pretty
shit
good
up.
with that. So
Yeah. You know how
I'll-
to use the PG-01 optic on the RPG-7 to correctly range the correct type of ammunition?
yes,
Excellent. I like people who can do that.
yeah, we had Russian nights every other week in my old
Sweet.
clan.
Okay. You have an account on our forum?
No, I
No?
was not.
Okay. You need to go make one, and then I can give you your training badge.
Well, it,
And that's just how we keep track of what training people have. If you don't have a badge on the forum, you don't have the training.
one question now that
Yep.
I remember it. Y'all do use yeah, you use the squad thingy. Do I get one, or should I just keep my current one until I get one?
Oh, the XML
Because-
You
Yeah,
you
'cause
just
at the
need to make a
moment-
post on our
Forum.
roster thread on our forum, and you can get one.
Yeah, okay.
We
'cause
can
at
send
the
you a
moment,
link to that.
I'm,
Yeah, I see you have your old patch.
Yep, still do.
SWEBAT. Swebet?
Yeah, Svebot.
Swebat?
Yeah, Swedish.
What's that mean?
It literally means Swedish battalion.
Swedish battalion. Swebat. Yeah, fair enough.
Are we able to put like morale patches on the other arm?
Yo,
There's
I
a
don't
blank
know.
spot.
Maybe.
I mean, it's a big spot too.
Should we each get our own personalized badge? You
Yeah.
can talk to Qatar about it.
That'd be
He
awesome.
might know better.
Yeah, those
Okay.
badges are not through the XML thing. They are
Yeah,
hers. Yeah.
we have a mod that
Yeah.
gives the image.
Goody.
It puts it on the side of vehicles that you drive as well.
Yep.
So if you're
ooh.
in a tank, it'll put it on the side of your tank.
Yeah, that's the default armor function.
Yep.
That guy was getting close.
Did you get him? Or do you just mean his shots were close?
His shots were close.
Yeah.
We're invincible though,
I don't
huh?
actually see him. Do you see him?
No. Yeah, there's a couple down there. Are we set to
go on.
invincible?
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I saw Timothy bleed earlier. I know he got shot.
Yeah, you still get the blood puffs when you get
Yeah.
shot. You just don't actually take any damage, except for backblast.
Yeah, I once killed the leader of the entire clan with a rocket
With
launcher.
backblast,
Yeah,
bad,
was
very
rough.
bad.
Yeah, I really liked it. If you look at my signature thing, it literally says clear backblast, so that's why.